Welcome to Community of Writers. I'm Charles Alexander from Pima Community College, and this program has been about poetry, literature, books. So far in this program and in others I've done in my past, I've talked to other writers about their work. I have talked to other writers about ideas in poetry, about the history of literature, and I've talked a little bit about books and the history of books. The one thing I haven't done is to read and talk about one of my own poems, so I'm going to do that today. And I'm not going to just read the poem, but rather try to, what we call, unpack it a little, to explain it in part as we go. And I might not even get through the whole poem because it's a little bit long, but I would hope that this might show how one reads poetry slowly and thinking about connections. This is from the book Pushing Water, which is actually entirely a poem, Pushing Water, which exists in 52 sections plus a coda. And this is Pushing Water 50. Alas and away, afar and abrupt, in or out of water. With those three lines, I want to set up a kind of a floating thing. You know, the conjunctions, alas and away, afar and abrupt, in or out of water. The creek behind the redwood house, where the horse throws a rider, Manawidden to Sequoia, the syllables connect and condense in the shining waters. Always a connection to water, but always also a connection to personal history. The first poem in this book mentions being thrown from a horse by a redwood house with a creek behind it. Manawidden, which is a figure in Welsh folklore, figures in this book, as does the tales in which he appears, which are the same tales in which we have the first evidence of Arthur, who later becomes King Arthur. Sequoia, of course, is a Cherokee figure who developed a syllabary to represent a whole alphabet. So for me, growing up in Oklahoma, Sequoia is an important figure about doing something physical with language and allowing for a kind of articulation that wasn't there before. So you go from the shining waters there to the sands of Iwo Jima, the bridge on the river Kwai, the catcher in the rye. Just by sound, sometimes one moves. The bridge on the river Kwai, the catcher in the rye, the catcher in a crouch stance holding one or two fingers down, the wind-up and the pinch me before I wake from the dream. So instead of the wind-up and the pitch, you get the wind-up and the pinch. I just watched the World Series last night, so I'm in a baseball mode here. I wake from the dream. Pinch me in the dark and I remain where the water runs quickly over stones, flat over a ledge, steady as letters falling upon a page, feet falling on the trail, bodies falling in the trench, notes falling in the ear, lemons falling from the tree, tears falling or flesh tearing, paper tearing, painted walls tearing. The walls do not fall, but separate as days, as minutes, as phonemes. So I'm kind of going from a sense of letters, literally falling, kind of meaning falling. The walls do not fall is a line and even a title of a book by Hilda Doolittle, who wrote during World War II while bombing was going on. So there's a sense of possible disintegration of even language in these lines. Even the phonemes, as phonemes might fall. Ask the wind, said the owl, if he's there, and has not fallen into the water, pushing up from under the water. The dream pushes up from under the water. The muscle folds into the held space out of the light. and we begin again. Press the button, hold the phone, water the plants, water the eyes. No, she said with a thundering clarity. The numbers do matter. The shape shifts to gender, agenda discovered and disproved, hairs unkempt. This in part is a memory of something that happened at a conference where a friend, the poet Lainey Brown, stood up when kind of women were being left out of the conversation and said, no, this matters. So to me, this is also about the play, the field of language, of poetry, of literature, needing attention and needing sometimes just that kind of interruption, just as sometimes maybe language should fall apart so that it can change. Alas and away, abrupt in the negative light, capable as the wind unravels the perfect web, improbable wind centers the margin, leaves uplift astray and hold in no pattern, but gold and green light deliver the world to eyes inside all heads. Kicking the rock, shuffling the cards, dancing the light steps, dancing the hard steps. The movement of light through a prism of water, in or out of water, push or pull of water. There's constantly in these poems the possibility of changes due to the presence of water and the entry in and out of water, sometimes even of the interplay on the coastal region of salt water and fresh water pushing against each other. Balboa, because of letters crossing the waves. Full fathom 5 in which the west ends, where the bus gets out, the place where there is no there, the place of field and wave and time's leap to space, not see, but see through, see with. Kind of gone here from the water to the active vision, first through water, but it will go up to the stars. Not see through, but see with starlight, star bright. First star I see through tonight. First star I see with tonight. And so Microlens, the far-flung field, becomes less far, less flung, less flight of the bumblebee, more legs leaping flight of lords and ladies, crossing the water, crossing the land, crossing the skies, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, through the hole in the E, arriving at place of first permission, place of last landing, place to stay, place to dig, place to live, place to leave, place to die. I won't need them anymore. Getting dark, too dark to see, through the whole lemon light, lifting light, bent and clear light, loose light in water. Just wanted to say that one phenomenon mentioned in that part of the poem, the microlensing, is something that the astronomer Dmitry Sasolov theorized about, a star being able to be used as a lens so that certain kind of telescope focused on that star would actually see through it, and the seeing would be magnified many times. And in fact, I was able to witness that phenomenon with that astronomer on Mount Graham in Arizona, which was actually Hopkins Observatory in Arizona, which was a beautiful night spent with family watching the stars. We begin at 10:30 in the morning. We continue until 11:30 in the morning. The first day could be any day. The second hour could be stuck in time. The whole hour could be freed in time. The light hour could be free from time. So that any day may eclipse this day-night ellipse. Good night, sun and moon, you rise, I set, upon no time like the present, no time like all time. Time to see our image in the pushing water, our word in the curving river, our promise in the light, our echo in the dark. Sings a song of sixpence, sings a song of 6 gallons, not so slowly moving away. I like a constant play in this poem of something that's almost childish song and fairy tale with moments of possible vision. Sing time, lapse, flap, fault, sling lime, apse, foot, flaw, sea grime, labs, frost, falls, seagull, apster, ostef, als. An example of language falling apart right there, where something that makes sense becomes something that's a kind of nonsense, and then is explained in a way. Syllable rips a sound away. Sip a drink of water carved from ice. What pieces of work are words? We are such stuff as dreams are dreamed on. Ask me anything, but give me flesh, or bury me face up in the water. Cover my face with words, or what's inside words. The two solid liquid flesh of language push to utter where the point is, and letters can be placed into the paper or emerge therefrom. 4 poems to color, self, utter, ask, round, utter, move to balance, shape of sun across blue, or mottled expanse, or shape of bridge from lime deposits to the landing module. There you go from the lime deposits almost before human habitation to the exploration of the moon. The constant is movement and change. What does not change? In the morning shift of light, the street shows its skin, cracked and chipped lines across and through bits of curb broken. The city runs into its future on 2 bruised legs. Let the wind bring water and leaf down to feet moving on mud across the arc and through the water. How fast did they move? Faster than any whale, a mile or more in 3 minutes. That first creek behind the redwood house, in the fishing hole where the old catfish grows older still, we are inside the wave of the world. God is fully physical. Paradise is the walk upon the body where the letters wake when the child cries, "Come into this world," in order to go up and around. The day the leaves blew walked in Shang dynasty time when the prevailing color was yellow. This poem continues through the water, through a dream of having a hand lift humans and rocks and leaves and animals up, a giant hand lift them up to where their molecules are fully mixed and one knows the other and everything knows everything, which is obviously an overly optimistic vision of how we might go past a hierarchical world in which everything respects everything else equally. And maybe that is the dream of the poem, and maybe that is the dream of the water. And I'll leave you with just a little bit of, which comes from, I believe, a dream in those Arthurian legends as presented by the poet David Jones, where he says, "I speak of the best dreams, dreamed at midnight when men, women, and their voices rest." I suppose I don't necessarily want a poem to give you rest, but I want it to give you thought at which you might take both into the light and into the dark. Thank you. I've enjoyed reading this poem to you. This is Charles Alexander, and this is a community of writers.